brought mine.
I left mine at home, but I switched out computers, so my other one was on charge. But this
Today we have about 6:30.
Yeah.
Go ahead, we can, we're gonna read.
Bacon? We're gonna have more of these. That's what Gervais is. He's here, right?
Tuesday, yeah. Yeah, let's just get those.
Hello there. Good, how are you?
Good.
Oh, okay.
I did. That's right.
Yeah, well, there's a little bit of that. One of my sixth grade teacher, when we were in school, said, your desk is right here for the rest of the year. All right there, all right. That's true.
All right, we will call to order this Monday, July 19th, Maine School Administrators District 6 Board of Directors meeting. I hope everyone had a happy 4th of July. Happy Eid al-Adha. Anyone who's celebrating? Ms. Smith, can we have a roll call, please?
Certainly. Julie Anderson.
Present.
Lindsay Atkinson. Julie Bruni.
Here.
Nathan Carlo.
Excused, he will likely be late.
Okay. Erica Kreutz.
Here?
Ellen Dakotas.
Here.
Kelly Heath.
Here.
Donald Marian.
Here?
James Moses.
Here.
John Sargent.
Here.
Paul Welch.
Present.
Shayla Harriman.
I don't know if she's coming or not, so absent for now.
Okay. Boston Nobile.
Here.
Nora Roulard.
Here.
Perfect. You do have quorum with 10 votes present.
Thank you. All right, can we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Excellent. Our next item is an action item, the acceptance of the agenda. Do I have a motion? Ms. Dakotas, Mr. Sargent?
I accept the agenda, but I have a suggestion that we take number 14 prior to number 12 in the agenda, and that will explain the next two.
So there is a motion on the floor to rearrange the agenda to take item 14, which is the Finance and Facilities Committee report, and move it ahead of item 12 so that we can give an explanation about what 12 and 13 are going to be about. Do we have a second? Mr. Moran. All those in favor of that change? Right, it is unanimous. Right, so with that change, is everyone good with the agenda like that? Any other changes, or do we have a motion to accept it?
Motion to accept.
Motion to accept, second? Ms. Dakotas, all those in favor of the amended agenda? Excellent, thank you, all unanimous. So item 5 is a welcome to our new and returning school board representatives, which is very exciting. So Ms. Harriman is not here right now. If she is able to attend later, we will say hello to her. But in the meantime, we have Boston Nobile and Nora Roulard, which we are very happy to have you here. So if you would like to take a moment to give us a quick introduction. Boston, would you like to go first?
Hello. Hello, I am Boston Nobile, and I represent the middle school. And I've always loved being on the school board ever since I was in kindergarten. It's always been a dream.
I'm glad we can make your dreams come true. Welcome. Yeah. And Ms. Nora.
Maybe? Is it on? Okay, yes. Okay, so as you so kindly explained, I am Nora Roulard. I will be a junior next year, and I am representing the high school. I do a couple extracurricular activities. I am a dancer, a cheerleader. I do some creative writing, and I'm in Key Club. And I'm really excited to work with the student body just to have a good school year.
Excellent. Well, we are so happy to have both of you here and looking forward to having your participation. And that includes asking questions at the meetings. You shouldn't feel shy. Raise your hand. We are always happy to have our student input. Your perspective really helps us understand what's happening on the ground. And if you have questions, you should never be shy about asking questions about what we're talking about. We will be more than happy to include you. So thank you so much. Our next item on the agenda is public comment session. I do not see anyone here for that. So our next item is the student report. I don't know that our students have a lot to report on given it's the summer, but do either of you have anything that you would like to offer?
Having a good summer.
Good, excellent. Well, we look forward to your reports in the future. Our next item is item 8, is the approval of the consent agenda, which is approving the minutes from our previous special board meeting and the regular board meeting. We have a number of teacher appointments, and we have a lot of teacher appointments on the agenda. And the approval to move Katie McGeehan-Sawyer from first-year probationary to second-year contract status. Do I have a motion to accept the consent agenda? Mr. Sargent, do I have a second? Ms. Dakotas, all those in favor? It is unanimous, thank you. Our next item is the report from the vice chair, which isn't really the vice chair, it's actually from the chair, so that's me. So we have 2 items. So just a reminder that we have a big meeting coming up on the 9th. That's our board workshop on the roles and responsibilities of scheduling a superintendent search. So this is going to be a big job for us this year. So we're looking forward to MSMA coming and helping get us all geared up for that. And then they will also be presenting us with the new board member orientation. So I would say that if there's anyone that has anything that they think should be included in that training, I would love to hear it so that we can get that included. If there's questions from our new board members that you'd like to know, if there are things that some of our existing old hat veteran board members think would be beneficial to know, that would be great to have that input so that we can make sure that it is a very wholesome discussion. Any questions for the chair? All right, seeing none, we will move right along to item 10, the report from the Superintendent of Schools. Mr. Penna.
Thank you very much. And so just typically how this report goes, usually our hires and resignations are part of this section so that you always have that copy ahead of time in case you have questions about anything that I actually can talk about in that, but at least it gives the board information ahead of schedule. And then there are other items on here that, again, so you always have a copy of that in your packet. You have a copy of truancies in your packet. So you'll always be able to see those things. If you have questions about that, I certainly can answer them at board meetings typically. So we give you that, and then new information that's happening, like for instance, the nutrition program, which the report that they received a grant. They do this quite often. Full Plates, Full Potential does a lot of good, nice support of our nutrition program, so you'll see that often in my report. And typically, I add a couple other things that are not on this, and we've talked about that over the years, about how that goes. Some of it is information. A lot of things happen by the time you get your board packet. Lots of times there's things I'm working on, or part I'm involved in. So just to let you know the format that I usually do my reports on during the school year, I'm bringing you the most up-to-date current things that I think the board would be interested in and need to know. So lots of times, it'll seem like ad-libbing on your part because it won't be written here, but it'll be something that I'll be talking about or reporting on because it's things I've been working on, and that wouldn't have gone out in your board packet, but I do think it's important to take the opportunity at your business meeting to inform the board. And if you have questions about that, certainly I can answer those questions. And I keep a running tally of what those are on my own docs, for my own record and stuff, because it isn't written in the document. Hetty will capture all that information that I report on, then it will become a part of your board report as well on that. So just to give you an idea of the format of how I've operated over the years on giving you as current as I can the information so the board doesn't get blinded by a public comment or question about something that might be happening in our schools that I've been working on that you didn't know about, that wasn't written the week before when you got your board packet. And so the one thing I did want to talk to you about in here, you see development of a new position to support student services that we just met negotiations on, which is a director of career and college counseling, which was initially a COVID position that is going to remain a COVID position, but it wasn't a directive position. It was a college and career counselor position, and primarily it was all due to the work that we've been doing in the schools for the last year about working, and I've actually been doing it for the last 3 years on working on developing a comprehensive guidance program, a student service program, which we have developed and the board has seen it and it's been approved, which means it sort of dictates the curriculum of where the school counselors are going to work in the classes to provide student support in the work that they do, as well as the crisis counseling that they do spontaneously when things happen in schools and situations. So the 612 position that we're introducing, we brought to the negotiations, was a result of several resignations, which you see in your packet, and work that we've been doing throughout the year about how are we going to do a better job of developing a personalized system in our schools, given what's happened to our children in the last year and a half. We need to be mindful of those services that we currently have, and are we doing the best with those services that we have that we could be doing. And we decided over the year, we worked on a program that's actually going to have the counselors looping with their students. So a counselor will be assigned, instead of having a counselor assigned at the high school level only, which is traditional way of doing things, and then doing an alphabet slice of their accounts. What we've learned over the last few years is that we've had a large turnover for a variety of reasons, and students end up with different counselors, almost at least a couple through the high school years, and that's not really good for personalization. In addition to the senior class that we have coming in this year would have left school their spring semester of their sophomore year, and we needed to make sure that those kids and those students had the support necessary to help them develop transition plans, whatever those transition plans are, as they move towards graduation, because they've missed all the traditional things that we've done with those students on helping them think and prepare for what's coming. We do have a program that we work with Naviance. They have it middle 6 through 12, which is, it's the whole idea of that is for students to develop a portfolio and keep track of all those things they're doing so we have this work together, but that takes the work of a counselor in front of them to help put all that stuff in and make sure we're managing that system correctly. So this position of 6 to 12 follows the model of moving counselors moving forward starting this year. Counselor will be assigned to grade 6 and they'll follow those students right up to grade 12. The whole idea of personalization is that the average class size coming for the next few years would be 250 to 260. This senior class is 300, but the rest of them are 250 to 260, a very reasonable number for a counselor. Those counselors should know every one of their kids at the end of year 1, but specifically by the end of year 2. The whole range of 250 or 60 kids, if you have one counselor assigned to that student. So that looping process, we think, is really going to help our personalization, in addition to the comprehensive program that we have in play that they're supposed to be, and they need to be implementing with this new position, which is now going to be the director of college and career counseling, which will oversee counselors 6 through 12, all of them, and they'll be part of the evaluation process along with administrators. So we feel like that whole program, putting it together, it's a change for current people on looking, but if you look in the historically of how student services was run, it always had a director person managing and monitoring those situations, being sure that students got the services that they need to get. And we really feel like this is a position that needs to come back to us in a way, but in a little different sense, because it really needs to be focused on students developing transition plans as they leave high school. Not some students, every student. So students should be leaving with a personalization, and that's what's in the job description, with a transition plan. So there'll be a lot of coordinated effort. The person will be answering to the assistant superintendent for reasons that I think I've sort of articulated around the edges, about making sure that this position does what we intended to do, to ensure that we have personalization to the level that we think our students deserve. So we're taking a different look at how we can make that happen more specifically. So that it's a position that'll live in COVID for this year and next year. For the next year coming 21 and then 22, we'll target it for the second year funds as well. And then again, as negotiations team said, we'll be looking for some really specific data. As the assistant superintendent, we'll begin looking at evaluation process of that position to review the job description and making sure that we're holding that position accountable to what we said it was going to be, and be able to report that back to the board. So you'll be able to make decisions moving forward for the sustainability of that position. It's not something we want to do a one in and out. We want it because it's the right thing to do, we think, for students. But we have to ensure everyone that it's a sustainable position and that it's doing what we expect it to do for our students. And that's the biggest piece of that description. So I could talk about this a long. I've been at this for a little bit, building this job description. I got like 3 pages of notes under the COVID funds for ESSER and how we funded it. But if you have questions, I certainly can answer those. But a lot of it's outlined in the job description. But it is all designed around the realignment of student services for the middle and high school, and 6 to 12 counselors. So that's how they're assigned. They're not assigned a grade level like they were in the past, the high school counselor, middle school counselor. They will roll with their kids.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Penna. Any questions for the superintendent?
And yeah, if there's no questions on that, the last thing I wanted to mention in this is that we did, for the first time, and Laurie did a lot of the planning on organizing the agenda for it, but we have been working on a revised organizational chart that really updates where our system is, so you can actually put it on the website, but actually so everyone in the board knows exactly what our organizational chart looks like. It'd be really good for you to have going into a superintendent search as well, like what does the organization look like, and who's the person coming in, and are they going to be able to manage that? Bill's going to be putting that whole document together because he's crafty like that, and because it's a pretty big document. We're trying to blend because we want people to be able to see positions. But Laurie's done a really good job on our first step of building us a managers workshop that we had the other day. So Laurie built a really good agenda, because part of the work we're trying to do in this organization is to blend how does our end of the organization, the educational end, work with the operations end. And lots of times there's a lot of separation between what the operations does and what education does. And it's really important to figure out, how does your district blend on that? And we haven't blended for a number of years. And so that was one of our goals, is saying, how can we make the organization feel like the one? Like, it's important for us to know what they need. It's important for them to know what we need. It's important for us to be communicating. We have manager meetings. We do meet regularly. But we haven't done it as much as, so we did a workshop the other day, which was really positive. We had some great outcomes of that meeting. And it's going to be where Laurie and I, or the new superintendent, so our end of it will work with goal setting with the managers, because that's what we do. We do those sort of things. The goal setting and the evaluation piece is stuff that we can really help them with and develop with in the PD. In the business office, again, in the operation side of it, they're going to have a role with the managers on budgeting and some of that evaluation piece as well. So it's a real, how do we put our organization together as one? So we started that process the other day, I was happy to say, and we had our first managers workshop, which was a lot of fun and well organized and well done. I thank Laurie for a nice agenda she put together, and having the opportunity to sit and meet with the managers and listen to not that we don't talk to them pretty regularly, but this was a professional development opportunity. It was just a nice way of pulling our organization together and begin our new work moving into 21, 22 as what our organization looks like. And we will eventually have a nice organizational chart for you all to have that we can post on our website and be able to see, like, what are the things that we're talking about. We talk about all these different positions and where do they live and who do they live under. So I just wanted to throw that in there to make sure that they kind of knew all that piece too. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah. Any questions about any of that part? Thanks.
All right, seeing no additional questions, we can move on to item 11, which is the appointment of Kristin Gervais and Laurie Wallett as elementary lead teachers at HB Emory Memorial School for the 2021-2022 school year. Mr. Pana, anything to add for this?
I do not, thank you.
Excellent. Do I have a motion? Mr. Sargent, do I have a second? Mr. Godis, all those in favor? Passes. It is unanimous. Thank you. So we will now move on to item 12, which was formerly item 14, which is the Finance and Facilities Committee report of July 14th. Mr. Marian was absent for that meeting, and so Mr. Sargent will be filling in. Mr. Sargent.
All right, you've got two handouts. One is 5 pages and one is 4, but to save you all reading it, I'll give you the quick update. Mr. Marin was reelected as chair. I was elected as vice chair. We had a discussion with facilities about the replacement of an ice machine, which we approved, expending $5,215, and we're going to use gate funds to spend that, out of that. And then the next thing, which is a big one, if you've seen the revised ED 279, you realize that we received Christmas in July. We are going to be the recipients of $1,791,445.34 in additional state funding. They're going to pay the full 55%. Now, the bad news is we can't use that for this budget. It'll have to go on the following year's budget because this has all been approved by the voters and everything else. So what will happen is that money will be set aside and we will be able to use that for the following year's budget, reducing our tax burden to the towns and hopefully to be on better financial footing. We did cover the top 25 expenditures, nothing out of line. All our special ed fund bills are coming in, and it's all looking good. Number 4, which is going to be your next 2 items, we approved 2 lease purchases. The first one is a Kubota loader and trailer, and the reason for that purchase is the one it's replacing was approximately 10 years old when we bought it, and we've had it for 20 years. So it's a piece of tired machinery. We still have the equipment, and as long as it runs, it doesn't cost us too much, we'll keep it as a spare. The trailer is a bonus. We didn't have one on the other piece of equipment, so we couldn't move it from school to school, and as you all know, we have schools over 4 towns. So, that's $105,000. That's a lease purchase, and the interest rate is incredibly low. The following one is technology equipment for $850K, and basically that's for 1,300 laptops and all the supporting equipment. Here again, we got a great rate on the lease purchase, and just for those of you who don't know what the lease purchase is, we have even payments throughout the lease, and at the end, we own the equipment for $1. So basically, that's the real quick. Any questions?
All right, seeing no questions for the Finance Facilities Committee, we will move to the first consideration of a resolution to authorize the lease purchase of a new Kubota loader and trailer in the principal amount of $105,605. Mr. Brockman, would you like to say anything further?
The only thing that I'd like to say is what the interest rate will be, and that rate is 1.63%, and the term of that lease is 3 years.
Excellent, thank you. Any questions for Mr. Brockman? All right, Mr. Sargent, would you like to put the motion on the floor?
Yes, I would like to have a motion to approve the lease purchase for $105,605 for a new Kubota loader and trailer for a 3-year lease purchase.
Excellent. Mr. Moran is the second. Thank you. All those in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you. All right, and then our next item is the consideration of a resolution to authorize the lease purchase of technology equipment in the principal amount of $805,000. Again, Mr. Brockman, any details?
850.
Oh, thank you.
Just to let you know what the interest rate is, it's 1.75%, and the term is 4 years.
Excellent. Any questions for Mr. Brockman? Yes, Ms. Dakotas.
What exactly is included in this purchase? Without-
You, in your handout, on your last page, you have a list
I do, thank you.
of all the items. The major item, a couple of them, iPads, we're purchasing 1,320 iPads, keyboards, 1,300 keyboards, licensing, iOS licensing for 900 devices, and some minor peripherals that go along with those purchases, including chargers, and there are 6 projectors that are for BCES and 20 for other classrooms within the district.
Thank you.
Any additional questions for Mr. Brockman? Yes, Ms.
Just
Anderson.
curious, so out of all these iPads, like the iPads that were in use, are they, I don't know, like, are these,
Are they additional?
they're
they're-
additional to what we already have, and
We basically have one-to-one iPads, so these will be replacing other machines that are obsolete and no longer able to run the operating systems.
you get any credit back for those iPads, or those just get kind of not used anymore or thrown away?
We'll sell them to a wholesaler, and that money will go back into the technology program.
All right, seeing no additional questions for Mr. Brockman, Mr. Sargent, will you make the motion?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to make a resolution to authorize the lease purchase of $850,000 for technology equipment.
Excellent, thank you. Do I have a second? Mr. Moran? All those in favor? It is unanimous, thank you. Our next item is
Thank
a
you.
policy committee report. Mr. Carlo is not here, and I honestly don't remember who was the interim vice chair, so I don't know if there's someone from the policy committee who's able to speak to the July 12th meeting. That's all right, we can give you a moment.
we discussed KCD, the policy regarding gifts given to the district. There were slight changes in terms of how we acknowledge them. It was in the policy that there was a written thank you note being sent by every recipient, and that wasn't feasible. So, but we did make sure that we were still acknowledging those gifts in our meetings as we do, so it's on the agenda for everyone to see and on social media. Those are all to be approved by the superintendent. The second one was the English language learners. There was a lot of changes made just due to, I think it was federal, wasn't it? Laurie, federal.
I think we actually made some big changes to the policy because we followed the MSMA sample, but then also the committee that made the updated LAO plan proposed a whole set of rules. So we made accompanying rules to go with the new policy. So, so there's a new administrative procedure that goes with IHBEA. Just detailing everything from how we screen students when they transfer in and at the beginning of their enrollment with us, and all the way up to how we put teams together to make individualized plans for those students and carry them out.
Excellent, thank you. Any questions for the policy committee? Yes, Ms. Heath.
I have some questions about, a couple questions. One's in the parent notification and involvement of the English learners, language learners procedure. It says to the extent practicable, and I'm just wondering if you can clarify that language. I'm thinking about that, and I don't know if there are some examples of when it wouldn't have been practicable to do parent notification in that language, in their language.
I'm not, I think most of the time it's possible to do it in that language because we can have anything translated. It's pretty easy to use the technology nowadays. I think it's in there just in the event that if someone's using a really rare tribal language or something like that.
Okay, so, all right, and then the second is, it would be interesting to get some data. As I was reading through, is there some place I can go to get some data regarding like enrollment, like how many people are we talking about or something like that?
I can certainly share that with the board and get you a specific list with the breakdown, but it's running between 12 and 15 students a year.
Okay, thank you. As I was reading it, I don't know, 300, 4, thank you.
Excellent. Any additional questions for the policy committee? All right, so moving on, we have a first reading of the Policy Code IHBEA, the Program for English Language Learners, and Policy Code KCD, Public Gifts Donations to the Schools. Is there any additional information you would like to offer about those policies? It seems like we had a pretty comprehensive report just there. Excellent. All right, any additional questions about those two policies? Excellent. All right, moving on to item 17 is executive session pursuant to 1 MRSA 405-6D to update the board on the status of negotiations with the district's bargaining units. Do I have a motion to go into executive session? Mr. Sargent, do I have a second? Ms. Bruni, all those in favor? It is unanimous. We will now go into executive session. All right, we are out of executive session. We're going to move to action item 18, which is the ratification of the collective bargaining agreement between the MSAD6 Board of Directors and the SAD6 Support Staff Association for the 2021-2022 contract year. Ms. Bruni.
So we're looking for a motion to move forward. We did, the negotiations committee did come to an agreement with the MSAD6 Board of Directors for the MSAD6 support staff for a one-year contract for the upcoming school year. So we can move by Mr.
Moved by Mr. Sargent. Do we have a second? Ms. Anderson? All those in favor? It is unanimous. Thank you very much. So item 19 is our upcoming Board of Directors meetings workshops. So we have our Monday, August 9th, 2021 special board meeting at 6 p.m. here in the conference room to conduct the board workshop on board member roles and responsibilities and the process to conduct a superintendent search. We have some congratulations certificates going around. It was amazing looking at the years of service on there. Hundreds of years of service across all of those members. I saw we had 41 for one of them, so just a real testament to the amazing staff that we have here at MSAD6 and the dedication to our community, so thank you for that. So with that, we are up to adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Yes, Mr.
One
Sargent.
item first, Madam
Yes.
Chair. We have a workshop on the 9th of August. We also have a negotiations meeting at 5, which we just did before this meeting. Schedule that, so just part of the record.
Excellent. And what was the date on that upcoming negotiation?
It's at
August 9th. Excellent.
Just before the regular workshop.
I do appreciate that. Thank you very much. All right, do I have a motion to adjourn? Mr. Sargent, do I have a second? Ms. Bruni, all those in favor? It is unanimous. Have a great night, folks.